The Knicks are moving on from Obi Toppin. I'm a Knick fan, so I'm going to react to that without Quab. Quab is not going to be able to attend this reaction video. Before we get started, though, I definitely want to make sure that you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, because right now, Quab and I are bringing over the podcast episodes from the Ballislife podcast network, and we're bringing it to the Dime YouTube page. I used to just post shorts on here, maybe a few highlights from the show, but we're bringing the whole show and we're bringing it over to the Dimes YouTube page. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Going to be doing some reaction videos for you as the season, I guess the offseason progresses, because the season just ended. And I had to hop on and give my Knick fans and the Dime listeners who are Knick fans who expect me to have a reaction to this, I had to give you a reaction to Obi Toppin getting traded to the Indiana Pacers for 2 second-round draft picks, which seems kind of cheap. And that's it. 2 second-rounders for Obi, for someone who he drafted in the lottery? That's all we got? Doesn't feel right. Does not feel right at all. Here's what I'll say. It had to be done. Now, I'm going to get a lot of crap from Obi lovers. There's like an Obi hive, just like there was a Cam hive to start the season. There's an Obi hive, and I like Obi. I don't know if I'm part of the hive, but I like Obi. Obi, he made his way into my heart. He did, because when he first came into the league, I thought he was awful. The first half of his rookie year, he was awful. And that's objectively awful. He was like one of the worst if not the worst 3-point shooter in the league, I think, I don't remember the stat, but he was bad. He was shooting air balls, hitting the side of the backboard. He looked lost on offense. He's awful defensively. But Thibs stuck with him, and he ended up being a really good rotational piece by the end of the year, his rookie year. Like, it happened kind of like on the dime, which was interesting. And he made his way into my heart. I'm happy he was a Knick. I'm happy that, he got minutes and that he was able to prove me wrong, because my first instincts on him when I first saw him play a couple games was like, nah, he ain't it. But he ended up being really good. And he ended up being someone who, with the Obi hive, I'll agree with you. Yes, he deserves more minutes. Obi Toppin deserved more than 14 minutes a game, for sure. Like, no doubt. I think it's a shame that Thibs couldn't find more minutes for him. So let me start there. Thibs should have been able to find more minutes for Obi Toppin. Thibs did Obi Toppin, I don't say dirty, but he did him a disservice by not playing him as much as he should have played him. I'll get into Julius Randle later, but there's no reason why you couldn't put Obi at the 5 and have a small ball lineup with the Knicks. They won a game in Philadelphia like that, and Thibs just never went back to it. He rarely went back to it. I know you got iHeart in the offseason. I know Mitchell Robinson, your starting center, but it doesn't mean you can't have a small ball lineup with Obi Toppin at the 5. That was always my issue with Thibs. It's like, I don't have to choose between Julius and Obi. It could be Julius and Obi, right? I have to. Why choose between the two? Just because he plays the same position as Julius Randle doesn't mean that he always has to back up Julius Randle. Doesn't mean that he can't play another position. It may not be his best position. You may not like the way he rebounds or rim protects at the 5, but give him a shot there. It might bolster the offense a little bit, might add an extra dynamic to the offense, but Thibs doesn't like that. Thibs likes rim protection. Thibs likes rebounding, and unfortunately, those were Obi's shortcomings. If we're going to be completely honest, Obi hive, that was his shortcomings. He was someone who was inconsistent on defense. Sometimes he was good. Most of the times he wasn't. Wasn't a great rebounder. Wasn't a great rim protector, and those are shortcomings that Thibs just can't handle. He cannot deal with that from his big men, and Obi did his best. I will give Obi so much credit for this. He developed the 3-ball. He didn't have it when he came into the league, and now he developed into a respectable 3-point shooter. That was because he was trying to find minutes on the court, and he did. He was able to do it by finding a 3-point shot, by adding an extra dynamic to the Knicks offense and the second unit. They got out and ran a lot more. Obi was able to get out in transition, and we would get transition buckets because of Obi Toppin. Obi was actually an underrated passer as well. I think he found open men a lot. I think he had a good feel for the game. He did. He ended up having that, and it's sad to see him go, because I liked Obi a lot, and I think that he deserved a better fate with the Knicks. A lot of Knick fans will point to the fact that in 15 starts, Obi averaged 20.8 points per game, nearly 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Without Julius Randle, they point to that and say, hey, listen, Julius Randle is responsible for a lot of shortcomings in the playoffs, which, to be fair, I think you're correct on that in some sort of way, but I don't think that justifies wanting to trade Julius Randle to give Obi Toppin that starting position and then starting anew, right? The Knicks are where they are because of Julius Randle. Really, they are. You acquire him on the offseason when we thought we were getting KD and Kyrie. And don't lie to yourself. When we didn't get KD and Kyrie, it was like, what is going on here? This is awful. We're in for another decade and a half of awful basketball at Madison Square Garden while the Brooklyn Nets are going to win 2 or 3 championships. Don't lie to yourself. You thought it. I thought it. There are very few people in this world who I know who could have saw this coming. You didn't see any of this coming with the Nets. No one did. Stop lying. But Julius Randle, after a rough first year, and it was a rough first year, turned himself into an all-NBA player. 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He's a big reason why the Knicks are where they are, a respectable franchise. You can't just kick that to the curb because you think maybe this Obi Toppin guy might be something, right? Is Obi going to be All-NBA? Is Obi going to be an All-Star? No, he's not. You know how I know that? Because I watch Obi Toppin play. As much as I like Obi Toppin, he has done nothing to show me that he can score in isolation. He has done nothing to show me that he can take his man consistently off the dribble. He has done nothing to show me that he has a consistent mid-range. He's just not that type of player. I know he scored 20 in the starts. I'm not saying he hasn't. And I'm not saying that you're saying that you have to run the same type of offense, right? You don't have to run isolation with Obi if he's a starter. You don't have to do all that. You can still keep him in the same role. But after a while, defensive schemes are going to adjust to the fact that Obi Toppin's getting 30 minutes a game and that the Knicks use him in this way, and he's going to have to adjust his game. That's in your perfect scenario. Julius is gone. That's exactly what would have to happen. And I just don't believe that Obi Toppin is a consistent 20-6 or whatever he was when he started. I just don't. I think he's a nice piece. I think he's a good rotational piece. I think he's a starter on some teams for sure, but he's not someone you move the best or second best player on your team for, someone who resurrected your franchise and start all over with. He's just not. And that's just the hard truth. The hard truth is that Obi had to go. He had to go. If you're keeping Thibs, if you're keeping Julius, and you're definitely keeping Julius, Thibs, we can have another discussion about, then you got to get rid of Obi because he doesn't fit anything that Thibs wants to do. He has the shortcomings that Thibs hates the most, which is lack of rim protection, insufficient rebounding, inconsistent defense. And he was just never going to have the role that, to be honest, he wanted and he deserved. And he deserves 25 a game, 30 minutes a game, maybe as a starter. He does. And he's just never going to get that in New York. So I feel bad for Knick fans because I think we lost probably our most exciting player, one of our most exciting players, someone who was a hometown kid, someone who was easy to root for, someone who, again, started off slow but worked his way. You could tell he's a hard worker. He's a good guy. IQ is his best friend. So I'm going to miss that friendship. It's sad. It's sad, but it's the reality of the situation when you have a deep team like this. I mean, the Knicks are deep. Our bench is deep, and we're kind of retooling a little bit. And Obi, I wouldn't say we're cutting off the fat, but we're definitely changing things a little bit and trying to find a way to maximize each player's abilities. And we just can't maximize Obi's ability, and he has to go. That's just a harsh reality of the situation. Getting 2 second rounders for it, ugh, disgusting. I don't like it either. And I don't like the trade. I don't like the fact that we traded Obi. I just want to put that out there. I don't want people thinking that I'm happy we did this, because I'm not. I wish that Thibs was able to give Obi more minutes to see that he provided value outside of the fact that he had these shortcomings of lack of rim protection, rebounding, et cetera. And unfortunately, he just doesn't see that way. So Obi's gone for 2 second rounders. The Knicks bench doesn't look too thin yet. I'm expecting to sign Dante DiVincenzo. That's the word around the street, but who knows what happens? Free agency gets crazy. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how they replace Obi. Let's see if they get like a 3-and-D wing who can just spot up, hit the three, rebound well for his position, maybe play some defense. I don't know who that is, but that's what I assume they might replace him with, because a lot of players like Obi are kind of hard to find. Someone who's a power forward who can jump up through the roof like him and stretch the floor a little bit. So, he does have that unique skill set, or was developing that unique skill set. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Leon Rose and company replace him. But overall, sad day for Knick fans. I'm sad. But yeah. So listen, Quab and I, we're going to be reacting to free agency once everything's done, and also the Dame trade. You can expect more reaction videos like this. Until then, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you around.